All right, let's take a look at factoring this problem and let's see if we can notice anything important, see if there's any way to shorten this up a bit. So we know we always look for our greatest common factor first, and I don't see anything here, so nothing in common for 4 and 9. So I need to multiply a times c. 4 times -9, that's -36. And I need factors that add up to the term in the middle, the b term. Well, there's not one, right? Technically, this is 4x squared plus 0x minus 9. So I need factors of 36 or -36 that add up to nothing. They add up to 0. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors of 36. You might think of, well, 4 times 9, right? So 4 and 9, but there's no way to do add or subtract those numbers to get 0. 12 and 3, that gives me 36, but there's no way to add that up to get 0. But maybe you think of 6 and -6, right? That adds up to be 0. So that's the factors I'm going to use. So I'm going to write down the first term, 4x squared. Just copy it down. Let's do plus 6x minus 6x. And notice that's the same thing as 0x. That's why we can do this, is because we haven't changed the value here. It still has an overall value of 4x squared minus 9. But we're sort of rewriting it in order to get our factors here. All right, so let's draw a line down the middle. And let's get the greatest common factor on the left side. So 4 and 6, those will both divide by 2, and there's an x in both of these. So we've got 2x. When we divide, 4 divided by 2 is 2. We have x squared. We take one x away. That leaves one still remaining. And 6 divided by 2 is 3, and those x's would cancel. So there's what we're left with. All right, on the right side, if the first term is a negative, we always divide by negative. And then 6 and 9, those will both divide by 3. So I've got -3. -6 divided by -3 would be a +2, and that's got an x on it. And negative divided by negative is positive. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Okay. Now, remember that you always want to make sure you got the same thing, have the same thing in the middle, in the parentheses, I mean. And we do. So yay, that means we're on track. And so now we're going to write down our two factors. So we've got the first one is the things we divided out. We divided out a 2x and a -3. And we divided out a 2x and a +3. And that is our factored form. So that's our answer. Now, what if I showed you that there is actually a pattern here that's a really nice pattern to know and can be a much simpler process? Now, this doesn't work most of the time. It only works in rare occasions, but this is one of those rare occasions. You have to have a minus sign in between. That'd be probably the first thing to look for. If you don't have a minus sign, if there's a plus, then it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not because your teacher wants to make it harder. It's just, it doesn't work. And the first term has to be a perfect square. 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is x squared. So that's a perfect square. And the last term has to be a perfect square. 3 times 3 is 9. That means that you're going to write the square root of the first thing in the front, 2x times 2x, that's 4x squared, and the square root of the last thing in the back, 3 times 3 is 9. You're going to write one with a plus and one with a minus. And notice that that's what we have here. The factors, the order of the factors doesn't matter. It's okay that you have the plus sign first here and the plus signs, last here. Because when you multiply, I mean, it's like saying, 5 times 7, that's the same as 7 times 5. So the order of that doesn't matter. Yeah. So this was a much faster process, right? It's great to recognize that pattern. If you don't think about the pattern, this works, right? We got the right answer, but recognize the pattern definitely frees up your time. And as you head into Algebra 2 and pre-cal and stuff, you want to see that pattern because you don't have time for all of this other stuff when you don't have to use it. If it's not necessary, then don't spend your time on it. All right. I hope that helps. I'll see you next time.